Greetings, I am Liz.
And I am Scandal.
And let's play a game together. Alright, so we've had a long medical discussion in the last one, and now we're just ready to move forward with this thing going, you know what? People take time to attach to their mobility devices, and we'll just leave it there.
Yes.
I offer my hand to help her up. She almost falls again, but she manages to balance herself. It's a task. She's really struggling today. Sorry about that. It's this damn scratch on my knee. It takes away my balance and my coordination and my ability to just walk normally. Maybe I tore a tendon. I don't know.
I mean, you might have also twisted it. You did complain about a twisted ankle before.
Maybe it was a twisted knee.
Ugh, that doesn't fun.
It's officially bleeding now, all over my uniform, and is a biohazard. You should get away from me. Oh, I mean, bleeding. Slowly, she staggers towards a bench to sit down. Toward. The blood is coursing down her leg and pooling on the floor. I realize we've left a trail of bloody footprints. Maybe she's having trouble balancing because she's going into shock, which is low blood pressure. And maybe she needs help from the nurses in the nurses' quarters.
How do I get a hold of them?
How can you call someone else for help? Also, I think we're gonna need someone to clean up all this blood.
Oh. You're like, I will rail this home. Excuse me. We are back to this.
Guess I'll stay here until a nurse passes by. But what about the system you used to call last time? Because there was an accident, and you know how she knew you had an accident. And why not use that system? Again, you're just gonna stand there, sit there and bleed on the floor?
I am so deeply irritated, I can't. As they say, I can't even. I can't odd. I can't even odd. This is so bad because it's like, how the hell do you think people in hospitals fucking function? Oh my god, a lot of them have walkie-talkies or like telephones. There's plenty of things around there. You have buttons you can slap to get a hold of the nurse's station or the nurse's office or the attending doctor. What the absolute shit?
And barring any of those things and saying we're nowhere near any room with any call button at all, there is always the hospital is pretty busy everywhere, you just call out.
Right, well, and also at the same time, too, she should have something on her. That's how they work. Whenever I was at the hospital, I always saw them with walkie-talkies. It's literally a part of your gear when you leave the nurse's station. If you walk away, you are supposed to have one of those so people can get a hold of you just in case something happens.
I have seen that in some places and not in others. It depends on the funding level of your hospital.
Okay.
Now, if your hospital has professional sex workers at it as part of its draw to get patients in, you think they're pretty well funded.
Yeah.
If part of we're hiring 4 aesthetics across the nation, we're having a hottest nurse contest, and then hiring them based on their resume, their credentials, their achievements, and how hot they are, because they also are going to be expected to perform as hot as part of the draw for our hospital, and they know that they will also be expected to present themselves as desirable and sexy at all times, as well as be a badass world-class nurse.
Maybe they don't then, but that doesn't make any sense to me. All the places that I went to when I was younger had walkie-talkies.
Yeah.
So my dad's a doctor, and I gotta tell you, they had walkie-talkies. That was how that worked. Or you have a pager. You have a pager or a walkie-talkie. At least, like, my dad's...
Pagers! I've seen pagers everywhere.
Oh, yeah. Which is, again, like having your walkie-talkie. You can just text people and tell them what's going on. Like, I cannot imagine, these nurses running around without something. That's
some form of
so
contact or communication.
ridiculous. Like, I guess I'll just sit here and wait. What?
Is this supposed to be like a sort of a hook to invite us to do something? I don't know if maybe that's what it is. I guess I'll just have to sit here until something happens, and us going, wait, is this an invitation to interact? Like, this sounds so weird.
And can you imagine, though, playing this game from the other perspective of playing the women characters in this? Of, like, let's say you're playing Miki. So that thing we brought up in the last episode of just pointing out, going, this is basically the same story, but imagine you were playing Miki in this scenario, and it really is going, your character has already made the choice, or the player character made the choice for this character to just go, I give up, let's sit down.
Right.
And then the guy character is going to come along and save your day, kind of thing.
You've been walking with this hot, guy in a wheelchair that you're very attracted to because that's one of the love interests, right? And you are this nurse and you're trying to get through your day, and there's 2 other hot patients because you have to have multiple choices for love interest. And then so what happens is you're told that you've hurt yourself, and you realize while you're walking that it's worse than you thought. You need to sit down, and then, you know, you look up at him, you know, do you ask for help? Do you try and keep going? Or do you know, you let him know that you have to wait here? Like, you know, these kind of things. And then he's like, but we can't wait that long. You need to get that wound healed. Because we have magical healing, not treated, not bandaged, not cared for, but healed.
That is actually another thing that I was suddenly getting really angry about. What is the language usage in this freaking game? This is so frustrating. This isn't anything to do with magic. This isn't anything to do with, like, whatever. Like, the scenario is strange.
You're right. We could just heal it. That'd be great. But we can't use magic on you because then you wouldn't get to stay here and admire the hot nurses.
Absolutely.
Also, or wait, is this capitalism? Sorry. Then you wouldn't get to stay here and be charged as much. Hang on, let me adjust.
You want horror stories? I'm not kidding. Go and look up basically like the United States for medical bills. They're terrifying how expensive some of them are.
Okay, so I was really just frustrated the other day while I was going through the internet, and I ran into an ad, you know, and the ad was this young girl who had been born with some real physiological challenges. And she was there advocating for herself that she needed a heart transplant or she was going to die, and she didn't want to die. And the child's probably 4 or 5.
Right.
Like, and so, you know, and they have her asking people herself to not let her die, and they should send money. And I'm going, you should not live in a world where a child should be pitched as basically has to work to earn money herself to get her medical bills paid for.
Yes.
Like, that sounds ridiculous to me.
That sounds very artificially dystopian, actually.
Like, can you imagine writing that into a book and actually making it sound dark and dystopian? It works. And yet that is the reality in, like, a lot, like, all over America. You've got people going, I can't afford my medical bills. It is literally my money or my life. Or it is, I've got to GoFundMe. I've got to, you know, a Kickstarter. I've got something to try and afford this necessary life-saving procedure that I will die without.
Yes.
And I'm not even talking about, like, helpful procedures that improve quality of life. I'm talking about life-saving procedures.
Like,
we were like, if you cannot afford this, then it doesn't matter if a donor is ready and available.
Right. And I don't know if I've ever talked about it before. I've actually had a family member who dealt with family where they were trying to basically take care of somebody who was in the hospital and was incredibly sick. They'd gotten into a car accident, and the little boy, as far as they could tell, was basically completely brain dead. Which was really sad, but they were trying to keep him alive, right? The family was just super stuck on it, which is fine. It's not my experience, but I thought, like, for me, I was kind of like, I feel like the process at this point is to really try to let go, because if he is truly well and truly brain dead, as far as I know, it's really uncommon for people to be able to ever come back from that.
Very controversial conversation. However, in the case where...
But I wasn't done yet, because I was
say, it's one of those things where you take your own road, but scandal's sharing their story.
Yes. And that's what I'm saying. So, like, in this case, but the whole point of this was that they set up a GoFundMe, right? And it was really sad to just hear about them basically begging people to donate to the GoFundMe to keep this kid alive for as long as possible. And I think they ended up keeping him alive for a couple more months, but then they just couldn't afford it anymore, and then he just had to be let go. But that's what happened, and that's what we regularly do here in the United States, because we don't have universal health care, and people really do, or they're like, it really is your money or your life, and that's all you have. And now the family, I believe, has to deal with a ton of medical bills that are left over from them trying to keep this kid alive.
Because they weren't poor enough to get free medical care.
Pretty much.
I'll say, I've heard people argue that Medicaid is the universal health care, but you have to be so low on the income level and to be able to qualify that it's amazing.
Yeah,
anyway,
it's really bad.
So lots of big conversations here that are sparked off by a sexy nurse, but we can't wait that long. You need to get that wound healed. Now, where's the healer? I need a healer!
Heals, please.
Like, throw his hand up in the group chat. I need a heal.
I did that. Or as we used to say, heals, please.
Heals, please.
Heals, please.
Heals, please.
Heals.
Maybe there's an ointment in the vending machine. I still have coins in my pocket. Maybe it's just Neosporin. Aren't medicines controlled in hospitals? It doesn't matter. I can do this.
Also, as far as I understand, so I don't remember who told me, but somebody actually explained to me at one point that Neosporin actually isn't as good as it's always been touted to be,
Okay.
and it actually tends to, like, something about, like, it is a little bit more corrosive and actually can be toxic to people. Even though they use it a lot, it's been useful. But they're talking about not just for eating, but just literally not just for eating, my friend. Not for eating, I should say. But also, like, there is apparently one that's supposed to be much better, but I don't know. Will you please?
Sorry,
I'm gonna, like, throw you out the door and throw you down the toilet. Like, you'll be fine today. You will, like, we will stop sweating because my friend will be completely damp and moist, and we will be fine.
It will be fine. All right, so
because they will cool off the air in here.
I was going to say, so it's one of those things. I actually don't know the history of Neosporin, but I do know that with many products that they have developed and advanced over the years, and sometimes when you're a big brand name, it can be harder to make a change than if you are, you know, a sort of private individual or an off-brand.
Right.
So if like technology increases or advances and people go, but this isn't the product I know, sort of like Coca-Cola trying to come up with new Coke and it not working out, that there can be challenges there.
Right.
As a matter of fact, there is. Our vending machine has many ointments in it. It's almost as good as a whole nurse's station. You can buy as much as you want of Tylenol and ibuprofen and all kinds of other contradicting medications.
I think it was bacitracin.
Okay, Bactracin?
Bactracin?
Mm-hmm.
It's bacitracin.
Is it? Oh.
B-A-C-I.
Ah.
B-A-C-I-T-R-A-C-I-N. I remember, I think that's what they were actually talking about, was a doctor that was talking to me about that. Because they were like, occasional use of Neosporin is unlikely to cause any harm. The ongoing use of the ointment for every cut, bite, or scrape should be avoided. Like, it actually can cause problems.
As far as I understand, that's because it's an antibacterial, and you're not supposed to have antibacterials on you all the time.
You're right, because shockingly, actually, your body needs some of the bacteria that's in its system, and there's actually even a thing in regards to the bacteria that live in your gut, which is why they have something called a transfusion.
Okay, you've mentioned it before. Of trying not to kill off the good flora and fauna in your body, but
yes,
there's ointment in the vending machine. A vending machine? With an ointment?
Wait, did Mr. say that or Miki say that?
She said it's there. He got surprised and went there. So he went, maybe there's one in the vending machine. She said, as a matter of fact, there is.
Oh, I missed that part.
And he goes,
apologies.
Huh? A vending machine? With an ointment? A singular one ointment?
Wow, an oint for your mint. Oink, oink.
Now I've...
Bushy, bushy, bushy. Bushy, bushy.
Now I've seen everything. Except for you haven't seen it yet. You'd have to roll over there. This is Rosewood Hospital, mister. Our vending machines are state-of-the-art. It has nothing to do with what's stocked in them. It has to do with what kind of a vending machine it is. That's what controls what's in it.
Yes.
State-of-the-art doesn't... I want to argue here that state-of-the-art has nothing to do with it, because you can really load... Okay, so any normal candy bar vending machine, if you have a tube of Neosporin, you can hook it in there like candy bars, and it will just dispense normally. Or bags of chips, that kind of thing, with those little rotary dispensers, with the springs and whatever. Like, it doesn't have to do with the technology of the vending machine. It has to do with what you put into the vending machine.
Right.
Like most vending machines that have food that are really common, it's like chips and candy bars. That's what I've seen most often in my American life.
Yes.
Okay? And the people that own those vending machines and do vending machines as their business are literally putting those things in there because that's what they think will sell or that's what they're choosing to sell, but they could put absolutely anything in there. Anything that would just vend out of that shape of dispenser, they could put in there. They could be vending small comic books. They could be vending tiny Mormon Bibles. They could be vending Beanie Babies that were flat packed. Like
yeah, I know in Japan they've actually got underwear vending machines. Like that is actually a thing. So you can actually look it up. It's really interesting to say.
You
the
also
least.
have sex toy vending machines.
You do, which is really fascinating. And again, I'm like, that sounds really cool. And going like, our vending machines are state of the art. But as my friend has pointed out, you make the choice in the hospital of what to stock it with.
And you really could. You could
ridiculous.
do like little flat packs of socks in there if you wanted to. Like anything that's in a sturdy little package or a little air-inflated package, like, you know, air-inflated, like your chips, you could do it. Like anything you could put into a small chip bag.
You mean air, like sealed, vacuum sealed?
No, not vacuum sealed, because they're inflated. They have air in there to protect the chips.
Right. I thought you were talking about the socks at that point. That's what
I was going to say. Like, you could either have them in there or you could vacuum seal them. Either way, like dispensing jerky.
Yep.
You could do it either way. Anyway, so
jerky.
state-of-the-art has nothing to do with it.
Yes.
Looks like Miki won't be able to walk. The blood's just pouring out of her leg. I don't want to describe how bad this looks now that she's rolled down her stocking. Oh God, that's not a scrape. That's a lesion? What do you call it when it's that bad? I can't walk either though, so...
It's a really intensive abrasion.
But she needs medical attention ASAP. Did I say ASAP or ASAP? I don't know.
Probably both.
What should I do? You can't rub ointment on her wounded knee.
Rub? Okay, you don't rub.
You apply.
Apply. You do not go, cap. Rub.
Okay, so
you
she has a
you put a little bit on your finger
on her
and
knee.
Or you
and the scratch, according to canon, if the scratch on her knee, / the cut on her knee, / the gouge in her knee is bad enough that she cannot walk, and it's not twisted, it's just the cut doing it, then you do not want to rub anything into that mess.
Yeah, that's the other thing actually too, is that you don't even want to stick it on your finger. If you're going to be applying with somebody, what you're going to be doing is squeezing directly from the tube onto the injury itself, or onto the band-aid / the gauze, because sometimes they also talk about where you don't want to stick it onto the injury itself because you could put it inside the person's body,
and that's their bloodstream.
That's the thing that we were talking about with Neosporin, where they talk about repeated exposure to it is really not a good thing, and especially sticking something into an open wound is like, whoa, that is typically like, you need to have some very specific stuff for that. Like, I think they start going, you need to use like iodine if you're going to be dealing with like open wounds,
as opposed to like a scrape or a skin or a cut.
Yes, which is very different.
Like, and a large open wound.
Right, and it depends also even on the depth of your cut, as it were, as well, because you could really screw yourself up, or you can make yourself sick. Yeah. Like, it's one of those things you really need to be careful with. I don't know, do you want, I wouldn't do this at all.
So for me, rub ointment on her wounded knee would suggest 1, we have to go get the ointment, 2, we have to come back, 3, we have to apply it. 4, we're not going to have gauze, we're not going to have bandages, we're not going to have anything else. And if she is, again, bleeding everywhere, this sounds like a fever-induced idea. Should I just rub ointment on that bloody mess? And again, I'm going from what the canon says, because you can go, oh, it's not that bad. But if she has a cut that's making it so she cannot walk, then that is a pretty bad cut if there's no additional sprain or twist or like hyperextension to go with it. Just the cut is making it so she can't walk. That is intensive.
Yeah, that's a lot. And also, so it's not just, that would be creepy is ridiculous in this case.
So however, we have moved into those really diametric choices they had in girls' games all the time. Where either you get a full-on positive of do this thing, or shut it down really damn hard. Because before, like this would be the kind of thing where let him rub ointment on your knee, or tell him no way.
Right? And that's fine, but putting ointment on somebody's knee and helping them is not creepy. That's what my problem is linguistically here, is going like it's a, no way, that would be creepy, like it would be a gross thing that creeps do, that, you know, you're trying to help someone and you get ointment for them and you let them also then apply it on their own knee, because, you know, who's the nurse here?
Okay, so what about this one? Maybe rub ointment on her wounded knee. No way, that would be creepy, as opposed to asking or suggesting that I should do so. I just appear, ointment in my hand, plap, stick it on her knee and start rubbing, and then look up at her like, is this okay?
Are you good? Does it feel nice?
Does it feel nice? That is a little creepy.
That is super fucking creepy.
I am not going to rub ointment on her wounded knee. That sounds super weird, and based on what they've described, I don't think ointment should be on her wounded knee, especially with no medical training on our part. Also, leaning over the side of our wheelchair to try and get to her knee and do this, depending on how tall she is, how high her knees sit on this bench or chair that she's on, like, I don't know what the logistics of this are.
Let alone ourselves, in regards to also the type of break that he has, based off of what I understand.
We know his legs out.
We know his legs out, but his hips are probably locked in place as well, so you can't move, because you have your joints actually up here on, like, your hip joint, so you're trying not to move the rest of, like, your thigh bone, which has also been shattered in the way that they explained in this experience.
Did they explain it was our thigh?
They said the whole leg. They said my leg was broken, it was split, you know, or something, like, it was the leg. And I'm like, to me, the leg is the whole leg. It's not this was my calf that broke, you know, my lower leg that broke. This was not my upper leg. This was my leg. Leg
all
is
of it
the
was
whole
shattered.
leg. A whole leg was shattered.
Anyway, so I'm going to go with no way that would be creepy, even though I don't want it to be like, it's not creepy to offer to help, but I suppose if the only option is, I will just actively right now rub ointment on her.
Without
that
asking.
is creepy, with no indication, no interaction, no anything. So no way. Put ointment on her knee? Won't that be creepy to just do it without asking, without interacting, without suggesting it, without talking about it at all?
Without her suggesting it even? Like, she did talk about there's ointment in there, but she could do it herself.
But he's like, you need to be healed now. What if there was ointment in here? And she just answers you, oh, it is in there. She doesn't say, I need ointment. She just says, yeah, that is in there.
I think that's so weird, honestly, where the girls in here also seem to be really passive. They just kind of give you information, but that's also kind of what the guys did in the other one. But I don't think to this degree. Like, this, to me, I don't know how to describe it. I still feel like it's more intense here.
Feels a little rough.
Like, oof. But anyway, in the next one, we're
trying not to be creepy.
Creepy. I don't understand. I'm
creeping around the hospital in my wheelchair.
'Cause I'm a creep.
I'm rolling.
What the hell am I wheeling here? I don't belong here.
My leg is so broken. My leg, it's just broken.
Ouch, my leg. Ow. It is all hurty. All right, well, thank you very much, guys, then, for joining us. If you like what we do, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and please also feel free to share our videos with somebody that you think might have a good time with us.
Yes!
Or just if you want to start, like, a conversation, that is also a good reason to share as well. Other than that, if you'd like to actually support us more directly, please feel free to go check out our Ko-Fi or our Patreon. We've got some links in the description down below. Other than that, I have been Scandal.
And if you know any more about any of this than we do, or you have a nurse friend or a doctor friend that you want to point to this series, we would love to hear some professional opinions on this, because again, while we have some exposure, we are still laymen. Neither of us work in this field.
Oh, not at
all. So if you've got that, that would be awesome. And in the meantime, I have been Liz. And it was great playing with you. Bye!